Okay, so now we'll talk about IRAs. So for retirement being our focus, so there are two kinds of IRAs. You've probably heard about traditional and Roth. So traditional are tax deductible now if you meet the income limits. Okay, 73,000 for single. Then there's a partial deduction. There's different limits for married and filing jointly, right? So it's going to depend on your tax status. Roth, you pay your taxes as normal. You put in the money after tax. You gross tax-free, which means you never pay taxes again. You can put money into a traditional even if you are above the income limits. You don't get the tax deduction, but there is sort of a benefit. It's a little bit complicated. It kind of grows without you paying taxes each year. I generally don't think it's the best way to save, but I mean, it kind of, that's more of a tax question, so that's something to, I'm not really a tax person, that's something to kind of ask your accountant. I would say the simple cases to think about is, if you're in the income limits here, and the Roth one is higher, do you want to do a traditional or a Roth? Okay, so what do I think about this? This again gets a little bit controversial. You have people who feel strongly in both directions. So I tell students like Sarah to do a Roth. The reason is, if Sarah's filing on her own, okay, she's not dependent on her parents. Are you on your own?
Yes.
So she's probably not making a lot of money, right? I'm assuming you're not making, $70,000, $100,000, right? Okay, well
you write my paycheck, so.
So she's, relatively poor from tax purposes. That means her taxes right now are really low. So she could put it in a Roth. Basically, she's not paying much taxes now, if any. And then it grows tax-free, so she never pays taxes on that money. That's a good deal. Okay, the never pay taxes, there is a caveat to this. This is all subject to Congress. Congress can change their mind. This is all statutory. Now, in general, if a future Congress were to suddenly change all the rules, would they be likely to get voted out? Probably. This is exactly why Social Security doesn't get reformed. Nobody wants to do it because they're not going to get voted back in, all right? Could we end up in a future fiscal crisis where somebody has to do something? Possibly. Chances are they won't take it all back, but they might change the rules to affect people somewhat. There's usually some grandfathering, some transitioning, right? People don't want to get voted out of office. That's a political question. I'm not a political predictor. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to say you should be aware that this does depend on Congress. Most likely, they're not going to change things too drastically very fast. Okay, just knowing how Congress moves. Now, if you pay a good amount of taxes now, and you're within the traditional limits, saving on taxes now is a great idea. Okay, chances are when you get to retirement, your taxes go down, right? You're not earning as much, maybe you're taking time off from work, so you'll have a lower tax rate when you go take it out and pay those taxes. So that's sort of how to think about it. The higher limit for the Roth is great. So actually, if you have a 401k, like I have a 401k for myself, I have a solo 401k, and the Roth limit's based on like what I pay myself as a salary. So I actually take advantage of the 401k as a business owner, and so I have an S corp. So I decide what salary I pay myself. So basically, I take advantage of the 401k and the Roth. The Roth has certain benefits that people like when you get to retirement. It doesn't have the same requirement of distributions. That means it's great for legacy purposes. If you want to leave money to your kids, you don't have to take it out. You don't have to draw it down the way you have to draw the regular IRA based on what the government tells you to do each year. That's sort of a high level. Now we have a table of FAQs. I'm going to have Sarah walk through and then we'll sort of pause.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first question that we typically look at is how much can you contribute every year? And all of these are the 2023 numbers. So if you're thinking about starting next year, the numbers might be different. So that's definitely something to look into. So for this year, it was $6,500 for both traditional and a Roth IRA. Can you earn too much to use it? A traditional is no, but a Roth IRA, you must earn less than $117,000 filing single, or $184,000 if you're married and you're filing jointly. Now, when we look at whether or not your contributions are tax deductible, for the IRA, yes, and this is kind of what Jasmine was talking about. For traditional IRAs, the full deduction is available if your annual gross income is about $73,000 or less. So if you're poor like me, a partial deduction is available for income between $73,000 and $83,000, and no deduction is available if your income is greater than that $83,000. For the Roth IRA, those tax deductions, it's a no. Can you use it at the same time as a 401k? So for traditional IRA, yes, however, you might not be able to deduct the entire amount from your taxes depending on the income and how much you contribute. But for the 401k for the Roth IRA, yes. Do you have to take out money? For the traditional IRA, yes, you must start withdrawing monthly at the age of 70 and a half. But for the Roth IRA, no, as long as you were the one that opened the account.
Meaning it's not like inherited.
Yeah.
Okay.
And are you taxed when you make withdrawals? So withdrawals after age 59 and a half are taxed as regular income for traditional IRA, and any withdrawals made before that are subject to those taxes and a penalty. However, when we look at Roth IRAs, withdrawals after the age of 59 and a half are not taxed as long as you've had that account for 5 years. And something that I didn't know that I thought was really interesting is you can withdraw contributions tax-free before then, up to $10,000 for qualifying purposes. If you go back to slide 8, it lists some of those qualifying purposes. So those sorts of things are your first-time home purchase, education expenses, expenses related to birth or adoption, unreimbursed medical expenses, or health insurance. So that's a really great thing to know.